Everyone, take a deep breath, and now let it go. What if I told you that the very situation you're calling a setback, the betrayal, the diagnosis, the failure, the silence, the confusion is not an ending? What if I told you that it's a divine reconfiguration? You see, we've been conditioned to believe that adversity is punishment, that pain is a stop sign. But what if, instead, it's the very signal that the old version of you is collapsing? So a new version, a divine version, can be born. Right now, in the space where things feel uncertain, where you feel like you've lost your grip, the divine is not punishing you. The divine is preparing you. Let's talk about your brain for a moment. When you experience a setback, your brain wants to retreat. It defaults to familiar patterns: fear, blame, regret. That's biology, that's survival, but you weren't created merely to survive. You were created to transform, and here's the truth. Your thoughts have energy, real, measurable frequency. And when you focus on what you've lost, on what you fear, you are broadcasting a signal into the field of possibility that says, I am powerless. But when you shift even slightly and begin to see this setback as an opportunity for breakthrough, you change the signal. Your body may still be in pain. Your situation may still look bleak. But internally, spiritually, you are no longer the victim of your past. You are becoming the architect of your future. And here's where the miracle begins. When your internal environment, your thoughts, your emotions, your intentions begin to align with the divine intelligence that created worlds, that same intelligence begins to rearrange your external reality. The right person shows up, the idea downloads, the diagnosis reverses, the peace floods in, the healing begins not just of your body or your finances or your situation, but of your identity. You are not the same because you trusted, you believed, you surrendered not to fear, but to faith, a faith that says, if I was led here, it's because something greater is trying to emerge from within me. You didn't come here to be crushed by life. You came to partner with the miraculous power of God. So I want you to hear me now. That delay, its alignment, that heartbreak, its redirection, that loss, it's making space for something so much greater. But the miracle doesn't start out there, it starts in here. It begins the moment you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is God birthing through me? In this stillness, in this fire, in this breakdown, a divine design is unfolding. Not in spite of your setback, because of it. So today, choose to believe again. Choose to speak life into your future. Choose to become the vessel of the miracle you've been waiting for, because this setback, it's not the end, it's the setup, and the miracle, it's already on its way. Setbacks are divine reconfigurations, not endings. When life abruptly shifts, when plans unravel or doors close without warning, our immediate response is often confusion, frustration, or grief. We label these moments as failures, as dead ends, as evidence that something went wrong. But what if nothing went wrong? What if the disruption is actually the beginning of a deeper alignment with what was always meant for you? We live in a world wired for control and predictability. Our brains are conditioned to resist change because it threatens the known. Yet, the known is often just familiar pain, recycled disappointment, and limiting beliefs dressed up as stability. A setback shakes the foundation of that illusion. It forces you to stop, to examine, and ultimately, to release the identity that's no longer serving the next version of who you're becoming. The divine, the intelligence that breathes galaxies into motion and gives rhythm to the heart in your chest, is never random. When a door shuts, it's not punishment, it's precision. A closed path isn't a failure, it's a redirection. And redirection is how transformation begins. This isn't about blind optimism. It's about recognizing a higher order at work in what appears to be chaos. Sometimes the relationship had to end, the job had to fall through. The dream had to stall, not because you weren't worthy, but because the next level of your calling couldn't fit inside the container of your current circumstances. When you understand that setbacks are not meant to destroy but to recalibrate, you stop resisting. You begin to listen. And in that listening, you start to perceive a greater architecture unfolding not in the absence of the setback, but because of it. The breakdown becomes the space where the breakthrough takes root. Pain is a signal for transformation, not punishment. Most of us have been conditioned to interpret pain, whether emotional, physical, or spiritual, as a consequence of doing something wrong, as if it's a penalty we must endure. But pain is far more intelligent than that. It's not a verdict, it's a messenger. It shows up not to condemn, but to awaken. When pain arises, it brings with it an invitation to look deeper, to become conscious of what has been unconscious, to heal what has long been hidden beneath the surface. In the human nervous system, pain is designed to protect. It alerts you when something is out of alignment, when a part of you is being stretched beyond its current capacity. But instead of running from it or numbing it, what happens when you sit with it, breathe through it, and ask what it's trying to reveal? Pain disrupts the automatic, habitual patterns of thought and behavior that keep you locked in cycles of limitation. It demands presence, it demands honesty, it demands surrender. Pain doesn't always mean something is broken. Sometimes it means something is being broken open. When you're in pain, you're standing at a threshold between who you have been and who you are becoming. That discomfort is not a wall, it's a doorway. The resistance you feel is not the enemy, it's the friction of growth. Just as muscles tear to rebuild stronger, the soul often expands through the places that hurt the most. Transformation doesn't happen in comfort zones. It happens in the wilderness, in the uncertain, in the raw. Pain is sacred space, a portal where ego dissolves and truth emerges. It's there, in that fire, that the old self begins to fall away, making space for a new, more aligned expression of who you truly are. Your thoughts emit a frequency that shapes your reality. Every thought you think carries an electrical charge, and every emotion you feel carries a magnetic field. Together, they form a signal, a broadcast that goes out into the quantum field, influencing not just your internal chemistry, but also the environment around you. This isn't philosophy, it's physics. Your brain and heart generate measurable electromagnetic fields, and those fields interact with the space around you in ways science is only beginning to understand. When you constantly think thoughts rooted in fear, lack, or unworthiness, you are sending out a low frequency signal that aligns you with experiences matching that energy. Life then reflects back to you the very things you subconsciously believe to be true. It's not personal, it's energetic. The universe is simply mirroring your dominant state of being. But when you shift your focus, when you begin to think elevated thoughts of possibility, faith, gratitude, and love, you change the frequency you emit. You start to interact with a higher pattern of intelligence that responds not to your needs, but to your vibration. This is why inner work is not optional, it's foundational. You can't change your life by rearranging the outer world alone. This shift must begin within. You become the cause, not the effect. The moment you think a new thought, truly feel it, and align your actions with it, you step into a new signal, a new frequency. And because energy responds to coherent, intentional signals, the external begins to reorganize around that inner shift. Thoughts are not just mental events, they are creative forces. The more aware you become of your internal state, the more you begin to realize that reality isn't just happening to you, it's responding to you. Your thoughts are not passive, they are participatory. Fear recycles the past, faith creates the future. Fear is rooted in memory. It draws from what has already happened, what went wrong, who left, what failed, how it felt. It loops in patterns, keeping you locked in familiar emotional states that reinforce the same limiting beliefs. Fear is efficient in that way. It doesn't need new information, it only needs repetition. The moment you feel afraid, your nervous system activates old wiring, and you begin to see through a distorted lens where the worst case scenario becomes your default reality. Faith, on the other hand, is not built on memory, it's built on imagination. Faith allows you to see something that hasn't yet materialized and feel the emotional signature of it as if it already exists. Where fear rehearses failure, faith rehearses victory. Where fear says, "this again," Faith says this is new. Faith pulls from a deeper intelligence, one not limited by logic, experience, or time. It is the language of the soul, the part of you that remembers your connection to something greater than your circumstances. When you operate in fear, you activate survival systems. Your brain becomes hyper, alert, your body tightens, and your awareness narrows. Your vision becomes short-term, reactive, and defensive. But when you choose faith, your body opens, your breath deepens, and your perspective expands. You move from a contracted state to a creative one. From defense to design, fear keeps you repeating the known past. Faith invites you into the unknown future with trust. Choosing faith doesn't mean ignoring the facts. It means anchoring your attention to a deeper reality. It means remembering that your past does not have to predict your future. Faith invites you to break the cycle and become available for outcomes that have never happened before. Miracles begin with internal alignment, not external change. Most people wait for life to get better before they feel better. They wait for the diagnosis to clear, the relationship to heal, the money to arrive, the circumstances to shift. But the truth is, the external world is not the source of transformation. It's the reflection of it. The process doesn't begin when something outside of you changes. It begins the moment something inside of you does. Internal alignment means bringing your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs into coherence with the future you desire, not the reality you fear. It means creating a state of being that matches the miracle before the miracle shows up. When your inner world is scattered, when you want healing but constantly dwell on illness, or desire peace but keep replaying chaos, you are sending mixed signals to the field of possibility. The energy is fragmented, and fragmented energy cannot produce powerful results. But when you become internally congruent, when your thoughts speak the language of intention, your emotions speak the language of gratitude, and your body feels the outcome before it physically arrives, you move into resonance with your desired future. That resonance acts like a tuning fork, drawing to you the people, opportunities, insights, and events that match your new energetic signature. This is why inner peace is not passive, it's magnetic. It's a declaration to the universe that you're no longer waiting to see it before you believe it. You're believing it until you see it. The miracle begins when you live, breathe, and feel as if what you've asked for is already on its way. The more consistent your inner alignment, the more quickly the outer world begins to conform. Not because you forced it, but because you became a match for it. You are not the victim, you are the vessel. It's easy to identify with the pain, the betrayal, the missed opportunity, and to let those experiences define your sense of self. When life doesn't go as planned, the human mind naturally wants to assign blame on others, on circumstances, even on yourself. This is the victim mindset, the belief that life is happening to you, that you are at the mercy of external forces, and that your power is conditional on what others say or do. But the truth is, you were never meant to live from reaction. You were meant to live from revelation. Being a vessel means understanding that your life is a conduit for something greater. You are not just here to endure experiences, you are here to transform them. When you shift from asking, "Why is this happening to me?" to "What is trying to move through me?" everything changes. You begin to see setbacks not as personal failures but as sacred assignments. You begin to hold space for growth, not just grief. A vessel doesn't resist the flow, it carries it. And just like a vessel, your life is shaped not only by what it contains but by what it releases. When you carry anger, shame, or fear, you transmit those energies into your decisions, your relationships, your vision of the future. But when you allow healing, wisdom, and faith to flow through you, you become an instrument of change, not only in your own life, but in the lives of others. You were not created to be crushed under the weight of your story. You were created to hold and carry the power that comes from rising through it. The divine doesn't look for perfection. It looks for openness, for willingness, for a heart that says yes. Surrender opens the door to supernatural intervention. We spend so much of our lives trying to control outcomes, predict the future, and protect ourselves from disappointment. Control feels safe because it creates the illusion that if we can just manage every detail, we can avoid pain. But control is rooted in fear. Fear of uncertainty, fear of failure, fear of being vulnerable. The more we tighten our grip, the more resistance we create, not just within our circumstances, but within ourselves. That resistance blocks the very breakthroughs we're longing for. Surrender is not giving up, it's giving over. It's releasing the illusion that your strength lies in effort alone and recognizing that something greater is always at work behind the scenes. When you surrender, you shift from force to flow. You stop trying to manipulate outcomes and start trusting that divine intelligence knows the way, even when you don't. Surrender doesn't mean passivity, it means receptivity. It's an active choice to step aside and let grace do what striving cannot. In a surrendered state, your nervous system relaxes, your heart opens, and your inner world becomes still enough to receive new direction. Solutions you couldn't see before begin to reveal themselves. People, insights, and resources begin to align not because you chase them down, but because you made space for them to arrive. The supernatural doesn't operate in chaos, it moves through clarity, faith, and openness. There are doors that only open when your hands are no longer clenched. There are miracles waiting for your willingness, not your perfection. When you release your need to figure it all out and instead align your spirit with trust, you give permission for heaven to step in, for alignment to replace anxiety, and for divine timing to override your deadline's delay is often divine alignment in disguise. In a world that worships speed and instant gratification, waiting can feel like failure. We've been taught that if something doesn't happen quickly, it means it's not meant to be or that we're doing something wrong. But divine timing does not operate according to human urgency. It operates according to readiness, alignment, and purpose. What you perceive as delay may actually be the unfolding of a greater design, one that is protecting you, preparing you, or positioning you for something you can't yet see. When things don't happen on your schedule, it's tempting to assume you've been forgotten or overlooked. But the truth is, some blessings require more time to develop, not because they're being withheld, but because they're being built. Just like a seed takes time to break through the soil, root itself in the earth, and grow strong enough to bear fruit, your miracle is often in process long before it becomes visible. Delay is not denial, it's often divine preparation. During seasons of waiting, the unseen work is the most important. Your character is being shaped. Your clarity is being refined. Your trust is being deepened. If you received everything you asked for instantly, you might not have the capacity to carry it well. Delay creates space for maturity, for healing, and for alignment with something far more sustainable than momentary success. Sometimes, what feels like a closed door is actually a redirection toward a better one. The delay is giving time for the right people to get into place, for the wrong ones to exit, for the circumstances to ripen. When you learn to honor the delay instead of resisting it, you open your heart to divine flow rather than forcing outcomes that aren't ready to be born. Breakdowns precede breakthroughs. When life feels like it's unraveling, when your plans fall apart, your emotions overwhelm you, or your world seems to be collapsing, it's often the precursor to profound transformation. The breakdown is the dismantling of old structures, beliefs, and identities that no longer serve your highest good. It's uncomfortable, disorienting, and sometimes painful, but it's also necessary. Without breaking down what's limiting you, there's no room to build what's next. Think of it like a forest after a wildfire. The destruction feels total, but beneath the ashes, new seeds are germinating. The old growth has to clear away for fresh life to emerge. Your breakdown is that clearing process. It's the moment when the ego's grip loosens and your soul has a chance to speak. It shakes you out of autopilot and forces you to confront what's real, what's false, and what needs to change. Breakdowns strip away distractions and illusions, leaving you raw and exposed. This vulnerability opens the door for authenticity and creativity. It challenges you to release control and lean into trust. When you surrender to the process rather than resist it, you allow new insights, new connections, and new possibilities to surface. The breakthrough often comes unexpectedly, sometimes in a quiet moment, sometimes through a sudden realization. It's the result of your willingness to move through discomfort rather than avoiding it. The longer you resist the breakdown, the longer you delay the breakthrough. Every great transformation in history has been preceded by a period of collapse. The caterpillar must dissolve before becoming the butterfly. The dark night of the soul is often the gateway to illumination. When you understand that breakdowns are not the end but the fertile ground for rebirth, you begin to see your challenges not as obstacles, but as essential steps on your journey. The miracle starts within you, not around you. So often, we look outward for signs, for changes in circumstances, for people to rescue us, or for situations to improve before we believe that a miracle is possible. But true transformation begins in the internal landscape, within your mind, your heart, and your spirit. When you wait for the outside world to shift first, you give your power away. You become dependent on factors beyond your control, and that breeds frustration and helplessness. The internal work is where the foundation for miracles is laid. It starts with a shift in perception, a willingness to see beyond the limitations of current reality and to hold space for something greater. When you cultivate hope, gratitude, and faith inside, you create a fertile ground where miraculous change can take root. This inner alignment changes your energetic signature and signals to the universe that you are ready to receive. Miracles are not just dramatic, extraordinary events. They are also subtle shifts in consciousness that ripple outward. When you experience peace amidst chaos, love in the face of pain, or clarity in confusion, those are miracles. They begin as quiet revolutions inside your being before they manifest in your external world. Your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs create a magnetic field that draws experiences to you. If you nurture doubt, fear, or despair internally, those energies attract more of the same. But when you choose to nurture hope, courage, and faith, you shift the vibration you emit. The universe responds to that vibration, opening doors that seemed closed and bringing opportunities that once felt impossible. The power to initiate the miracle is within you now. It is not contingent on timing, people, or circumstances. It is already happening at the energetic level, the level where creation begins. The moment you recognize this truth, you move from waiting for miracles to becoming the miracle itself.